think when a student first starts jiu-jitsu, one of the pieces of advice we often give beginner students is relax, relax. And there's the part of the journey where a student is learning how to relax, and we oftentimes don't do students a lot of favors with that, because we just tell them to relax, but we don't tell them what it is that you need to relax. And for students, they can't relax because they're not sure when they're in trouble and when they're not. And so in the first part of the journey, that's really what's starting to happen. You begin to understand the positions of jiu-jitsu, and you understand when you're safe and when you're in trouble. And when you first begin to have that kind of knowledge, and you can say, okay, I can see I'm in cross-side bottom now. I can understand that the person on the top is trying for a collar choke or an arm bar or something like that, and then you can relax. And that's probably maybe the initial early stage of jiu-jitsu, is just getting to that point where you know what's going on, which allows you to relax. And then once your body can relax, then you can really begin to start learning the game. And for a lot of people, that's probably late white belt, early blue belt, when they begin to relax enough that they can start learning the game. With students at blue belt, at early blue belt, what I like to see from students is a lot of really good positional work. And so I want to see students building really good postures from everywhere in jiu-jitsu, inside a guard, guard bottom, cross-side top, everywhere in jiu-jitsu, from standing, all the basic positions of jiu-jitsu. I want to make sure that students have really good posture details from there, and some ability to apply some pressures from each of the positions. I'm not even so interested in that they have gigantically effective escapes from mount bottom or cross-side bottom, but that they're doing the right stuff. And so if they're doing the right things, whether or not they're successful at that point may not matter so much. When a student is ready to move from blue to purple belt is when you start seeing that success factor start to happen in. And so when a student has really nice postures from everywhere in jiu-jitsu, and you start to see him having some success with things like sweeps and escapes, starting to build a little bit of submissions, then I think at that point they're probably ready for purple belt. A purple belt game in jiu-jitsu is guard. Guard is probably 70% of jiu-jitsu, and when a student gets to that level of purple belt, they're ready to really start diving in and learning guard, both guard bottom and guard passing. And so a student who is a good purple belt, by definition, has a really intense, beautiful guard. They may not do every single type of guard, because there's a myriad types of guards, and some of which I'm still not quite sure of what they are when I hear people say them. But a good purple belt has a beautiful, effective attacking guard game from the bottom. They could sweep, submit, or stand, and they should be able to scare probably any black belt on the mat with their guard. In guard passing, they've got some ideas of what to do. They have some routes that they like, and they can execute. And again, a good purple belt should be able to scare to death out of a lot of black belts with their guard passing. And so a student is not going to be able to move beyond purple belt unless they've got a really fantastic guard. It just won't happen.
What's going on?
Well, when somebody's ready to move from purple belt to brown belt, they've got a really nice mastery of all parts of the game. They should be on a level where they can roll really effectively with any black belts. And at brown belt, a lot of times that's where top game gets reintroduced, interestingly. And that was my journey. So my purple belt journey was 100% guard. And then when I got to brown belt, I realized it was so much easier to do jiu-jitsu when you're on top than when you're on bottom. And so brown belts oftentimes will come back around and find top position. And it's also a place where, for a lot of people, the game gets reductionist. And so up through purple belt, people are adding and adding and adding and expanding the game. And then oftentimes when people get to brown belt level, the game starts to slim down again, and you begin shedding off the parts that don't work for you. And that's one of the reasons why people say that brown belt is where you develop your game. And your game, for most people, is actually developed by throwing away a whole bunch of stuff that doesn't work.
Sure.
And so when you see a good brown belt, everybody's game is different, but what you're likely to see is a slim game, a lot of nice top position, the ability to use guard when they need it, but somebody who's really interested in scrambling for top, taking top, and then a really fundamental basics way of doing jiu-jitsu. It's really interesting because when somebody gets brown belt, they're already, and technically and skill-wise, about that close to black belt, and part of it is some seasoning, and I've heard my coach say it over and over again when talking about people who are brown belt, whether or not they're ready for black belt, they need some really hard rolls. And so
define hard.
Well, I can remember when I was brown belt for a while and started thinking ahead to black belt, getting a lot of really high energy, high pace rolls with the black belts in class. And so it's the brown belt's job is to push themselves beyond their comfort level over and over and over and over again, because it's not so much a skill deficit they have at that point. It's that mental thing that I can go beyond what I thought was possible, and being able to do that over and over repeatedly against some really tough grapplers. So brown belts need to be rolling with other brown belts and with black belts a lot, and they need to be pushing really hard when they do that, and enough time doing that, and it really does push you over the hump to black belt. Yeah, a lot of your job at brown belt is convincing yourself that it would be okay for you to wear a black belt. And so one of the ways you do that is by having those really hard rolls with a lot of black belts and feeling like I'm surviving here, I'm doing okay, and I can hang with these guys. And you need that experience repeatedly, because when you tie on that black belt, it's quite an emotional hit, and you need to be ready for it. And there's always an adjustment period, but if you've done your work well as a brown belt, when you tie it on, you can walk in the gym and feel okay about wearing it, and that's really important.
Yeah, I would imagine it would be.
Yeah.
Let's back up a little bit. You mentioned that it's quite an emotional hit. Talk about that.
Well, I don't remember who told this to me. It might have been Travis. So I hope I'm not telling a tale here. When I got my black belt, said to me, can you think of anybody that Coach Matt has awarded a black belt to that didn't deserve it? And I thought for a little bit, and I was like, absolutely not. And then he says, well, what makes you think that you're so special that he would give it to you if you didn't deserve it? And I thought about that, and I was like, yeah, I guess you're right. I'm not that special. And so if, the ability to trust my coach and take a deep breath and tie it on and say, all right, I'm going to have it. And first coming into the gym when you're an early black belt and feeling like, man, I got to defend this belt because now I'm an SBG black belt. And if I get on the mat and I get tooled by a blue belt or a purple belt, then I'm letting my coach down. But fairly quickly that feeling faded, and then I was able to feel okay about tying it on, because it's not about defending the belt and being the best guy in the gym.